بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه مباركا عليه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى جل جلاله وعم نواله والصلاة والسلام على السيد الحبيب المصطفى وعلى آله وأصحابه نجوم الهدى قادة التقى أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والسابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين تبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه وأعد لهم جنات تجري تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا وذلك الفوز العظيم اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وسلم تسليما. Respected elders and brothers and the sisters listening at home, Alhamdulillah, over the last few Jumu'ahs we've been speaking about the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the companions of the final messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and we've been honoring them and ridding the claims that have been made against them. And we've so far covered the life of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an in detail, the life of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala an over a couple of weeks. And now we've come to Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu an, the third of the four Khulafa. Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu was born in about 6 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he was about 6 to 7 years junior than Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was born from the Quraysh, and interestingly, his mother is the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So it was a very close family relationship too. Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu was dearly loved by the Quraysh because he was very, very handsome. In one hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam actually said that he looks very much like our father Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. And in another narration, one of his students say, I have seen nobody on this earth who is more beloved or who looks more handsome than Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu. And because of this natural beauty, the Quraysh used to love him so much, that it became an example of proof of love. So if I loved a person, I would say, أُحِبُّكَ وَالرَّحْمَنِ حُبَّ قُرَيْشَ لِعُثْمَانِ. I love you so much like the Quraysh used to love Uthman. أُحِبُّكَ وَالرَّحْمَنِ. I love you, I swear by Ar-Rahman. حُبَّ قُرَيْشَ لِعُثْمَانِ. Like the Quraysh used to love Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anh, this is how much I love you. Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an, he was a very shy man. He kept himself to himself. He was a very private man, very softly spoken, of very beautiful character. He was, after Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an, he was the next free man to accept Islam. After Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, females like Sayyidina Khadija accepted Islam. Children like Ali accepted Islam. Slaves like Zayd bin Haritha accepted Islam. But the free man after Abu Bakr to accept Islam was Sayyidina Uthman. And it was on the encouragement of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq that Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu accepted Islam. And his father left behind a great inheritance for him. And he used to do business, and he was a very good man in business. When the going got tough, his uncle Al-Hakam ibn Abi al-As comes to him, and his uncle says to him, "Oh Uthman, have you left the religion of your forefathers to become a Muslim?" Sayyidina Uthman said, "Yes, of course I have." So his uncle tied him up in a rope. And said, "Go, give up the faith of Islam. Give up Muhammad. Why do you believe in Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam?" Sayyidina Uthman said, "Do what you like, I will never abandon or desert my faith." So his uncle realized that this child, this nephew of mine is not going to move. So his uncle said, "Okay, fine, you do as you like. You go and live as a Muslim, no problem." Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an, he was such a unique person that there weren't many Sahaba who did the two hijrahs. The first hijrah to Abyssinia, to what we call Ethiopia today, Habasha, and the second hijrah to Medina Munawwara. He was the first person to go to Abyssinia. And then in the next group, Sayyidina Ja'far radiallahu ta'ala and went, and they took refuge by the Abyssinian king. And then they went to Medina Munawwara. Sayyidina Uthman is called Dhun Nurayn, the one of two lights. Two lights. You know why he's called the one of two lights? Because he was married to two of the daughters of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. If we like a man, we give him one daughter. And if something were to happen to that daughter, she were to pass away, for example, and we had another daughter, he would have to be a very special person for me to give him my second daughter to. Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu was so lucky. So lucky. And he used to say this. And he used to say, look, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa got me married to one of his daughters when she passed away. He got me married to a second one. وَمَا تَمَنَّيْتُ. And I didn't even go ahead and give a proposal. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa came to me and said, Uthman, will you be my son-in-law? Will you be the husband to my daughter? And there's a really beautiful story when Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an was in Medina Munawwara. And the Muslims were going up to fight in the battle of Badr. Sayyidina Uthman's wife at that time, Ruqayya radiallahu ta'ala anha, became very unwell. And he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do I come to fight or do I look after my wife? One or the other. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, you stay at home and you look after Ruqayya. And I guarantee you, Uthman, that even though you will not come to fight, we will count your people, we will count your name from amongst those who fought. So when the Muslims came back from Badr and they were victorious, they come to Medina Munawwara. Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu, by that time his wife Ruqayya, the daughter of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has passed away. And she has already been buried. And the Muslims come back and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say that all of the money you've got from the battle, the war spoils you have, give a share to Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala. Sayyidina Uthman was very, very special. Very special. He was one of the Sahaba who had memorized the entire Quran. He had memorized the entire, and for you and I today it's more easy. Do you know why it's easier? Because we have the Quran in the form of a book, in the form of a mushaf. Sayyidina Uthman, in his time, the Quran wasn't in the form of a book. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alive, the Quran was on parchments, was on leaves, was on skin. And you had to get all of the portions together and then memorize it. It made life very, very hard. And yet he was a hafid of the Quran. The Sahaba say that Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala, and he would stand up for tahajjud salah, and he would recite the entire Quran in one rak'at. Sayyidina Uthman would recite the entire Quran in one rak'at. This is who Uthman was. Uthman radiallahu ta'ala, Ruqayya radiallahu ta'ala passes away. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes and he says, I have another daughter, Kulthum. Will you marry Kulthum? He says, yes. When Kulthum radiallahu ta'ala passed away later in the life of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Uthman was left without a daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, oh Uthman, I promise if I had 40 daughters, I would give you all 40 daughters of mine. One after the other. Now when you and I look for a son-in-law, we look for good qualities. Imagine how great the man must have been for Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give two of his daughters to him. What a man he must have been. And he was called Uthman al-Ghani. He used to say his relationship with the Quran was such that he used to say that لَأَكْرَهُ أَن يَمْضِيَ عَلَيَّ يَوْمًا وَلَا أَنظُرُ فِيهِ فِي الْمُصْحَفِ. That I don't like it that a day passes that I don't look inside the Quran. You alright? Allahu Akbar. Ramadan to Ramadan, he goes on the shaft, comes out at the start of Ramadan, goes in on Laylatul Qadr, and we don't see it until the next day, 1st of Ramadan. Or maybe if we're lucky, the 15th of Sha'ban, or maybe some other night in the year. Maybe somebody passes away, we'll get the Quran, do some Isal Thawab, pray some Quran for them. Otherwise, Allah protect us that we are very, very far from the Quran. Sayyidina Uthman's relationship with the Quran was such that when he finally became Khalifa, Sayyidina Abu Bakr had commissioned that the Quran, which was in all these different parts, be brought together into the form of a book. But you have to understand, even when we speak English, we have different dialects and different accents. An American person calls a pile of litter garbage, and we call it rubbish, right? So we mean the same thing, don't we? But we say different things. So the Sahaba from these different countries, from Syria, from Iraq, from Persia, from all these different countries, they spoke Arabic in a different way. So they would read the Quran in a slightly different way to one another. The words were the same, but they would recite it in a slightly different way. So when Hudhayfah bin Yaman, radiallahu ta'ala an, when he went to Armenia or Azerbaijan, he saw that there are people from Iraq here, people from Syria here, and they are fighting because they think their version of recitation is correct. The Quran is the same, but the way they recite was slightly different. So they were fighting, saying, I'm right, no, I'm right. So he hurriedly sends a messenger to Sayyidina Uthman. He says, Uthman, Amirul Mu'mineen, you need to find a way now that bring the ummah onto one version of the Quran to avoid all this fight. So Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu got 4 Sahaba together. From them was Zayd bin Thabit radiallahu ta'ala an. He said, now bring one version, one perfect version of the Quran. The Quran's already written. But choose one dialect, choose the language of the Quraysh, and do all of the Qurans on this. And then he sent this Quran out to all of the countries that the Muslims were ruling over. This is his relationship with the Quran. Sayyidina Uthman is known as Al-Ghani. the one who was wealthy, and not just wealthy, the one who would give and give and give. In a hadith, he said something really beautiful. He says, حُبِّبَ إِلَيَّ ثَلَاث. 3 things have been made beloved to me. If we ask today, what's been made beloved to me? I'll say, I like nice food, and I like money, and I like a nice house, and I like a nice car. He says, حُبِّبَ إِلَيَّ ثَلَاث. 3 things are beloved to me. Number 1, to fill the stomach of a hungry man. To give in charity, to fill the stomach of a hungry man. And from amongst these 3 things, tilawatul Quran, to recite the Quran. He used to spend the night reciting Quran. And his wealth served him such. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba, when they entered upon Medina, remember they were tourists. They had nobody there. Just a few Sahaba from Medina who had come to Mecca to take the pledge of Aqaba. They said, we look after you, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So just these people, but they were poor as well. They weren't very wealthy. So when the Muslims of Mecca entered upon Medina, they had no fresh water to drink. There was a Jewish man who owned a well called the well of Ruma. He knew that there was a demand. And when there's a demand, prices go up. So he said, okay, if you want to come to my well to take water for yourselves, it's going to be this much. The Sahaba couldn't afford it. The Sahaba found it very difficult. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam then made an announcement in the masjid. He said, who from amongst you wants something better in Jannah than this well? Sayyidina Uthman heard this and he said, this is my chance. So Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala, he goes and he buys the well from the Jew, and the Jew says, no, actually what we'll do is, I won't give you the full well. One day my day, one day your day. Alternate days. Sayyidina Uthman said, fine. Sayyidina Uthman made this entire well waqf to the Muslims. He gave it to the Muslims. He said, Muslims, you can drink on my day every 2 days, you can drink as much as you want for free. So naturally the Jewish man was charging money on his day. So even the non-Muslims wouldn't go on the day that the Jewish man was owning the well. And they would only go on the day when Uthman radiallahu anhu was giving it for free. So the Jewish man said, my business has gone down because I'm charging money. Uthman is giving the same service for free. So we said, there's a problem here. So then he sold the second half to Sayyidina Uthman, and he had ownership of the well. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in the Battle of Tabuk in the 9th year of Hijrah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought the Sahaba together, and he said, the Romans from the Byzantine Empire, they are coming, they want to attack Medina Munawwara. We need to find a way of repelling them, but we have no money and it's very hot, and this is a perfect time for the harvest of the fruits. The Sahaba would work all year. Imagine you work for 300 plus days of the year trying to get this harvest ready, and in the month the harvest will be ready. Somebody says, actually you can't harvest it, go away, go on holiday, nobody will look after your farm for you. Of course, I've been working my whole year for this, of course I'm going to want to stay behind. The Sahaba were called to fight in Tabuk, and the month in which they were called was the month when their harvest was due, and they found it very difficult, and they had no money. Why? Because they hadn't taken the money from the harvest yet. They'd spent all of their money in trying to cultivate the land and bring some vegetation, bring some fruit, bring some dates. And so Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is Jayshul Usra. This is the war, the army of difficulty. He says, who will prepare the army of difficulty for me? Who will prepare the army today when nobody has money? Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu comes with half of his wealth. And he says, today I will beat Abu Bakr. Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala comes with everything. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, what did you leave at home? He says, I left Allah and His Rasul at home. Everything else I have brought. Sayyidina Uthman says, my turn. He says, I will give 100 camels fully loaded, laden. You take the camels and you take as much food as you can get 100 camels. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, who else? Uthman said, another 100. Who else? Uthman said, another 100. 900 camels he gave. Fully laden, 900 camels he gave to the army. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, okay, now we need cash to buy weaponry, etc. Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu said, leave that to me. He gave 1,000 dinars. Equivalent to millions of pounds today. He gave 1,000 dinars to the Muslim army. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yuqallibuha, he was turning you know when you have lots of money and you're just turning it in your hands? He was turning the money in his hand, and he made an announcement on the mimbar, مَا ضَرَّ عُثْمَانَ مَا عَمِلَ بَعْدَ هَذَا الْيَوْمِ. Anything Uthman does, Any action, any evil deed he does will not affect him after today. He is promised Jannah. Because of what he did today for the Muslim Ummah, he can do whatever he likes. But Sayyidina Uthman didn't then become lazy and say, hey, my Jannah is guaranteed, let me do whatever I want. Sayyidina Uthman became stronger in his worship. He was so close to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Nabi sallallahu has so much honor and respect for Sayyidina Uthman that one day he was sat with his wife Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Sayyidina Abu Bakr asked for permission. He walks in. Nabi sallallahu is sat, like we relax at home. So maybe some of his leg is showing and his clothes, he's wearing home clothes, lounge clothes if you like. Sayyidina Abu Bakr walks in, Nabi sallallahu stays in this condition. Sayyidina Umar asks for permission. Sayyidina Umar walks in, Nabi sallallahu stays in this condition. Sayyidina Uthman knocks on the door. Nabi sallallahu sits himself, he says, wait. He sits himself up, makes his clothes proper, sits proper. He says, now bring Uthman in. Sayyidina Uthman comes in, he speaks to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he leaves. His wife Aisha was sat there. His wife Aisha radiallahu anha says, oh Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my father Abu Bakr came in, you stayed the same. Umar came in, you stayed the same. When Uthman came in, you made yourself proper, you sat in a proper way, and then you called for him in. Why did you change your condition for Uthman? And the response given by Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ala astahyi minhu, tastahyi minhu al-malaika." Should I not have shame and modesty and haya from the one from whom the angels do haya? The angels do haya when they see Uthman, and I am a human and I wish to do haya from Uthman. Because Uthman, we do in the khutbah every single week. What do we do? أرحم أمتي بأمتي أبو بكر وأشدهم في أمر الله عمر وأصدقهم حياء عثمان. The man with the most haya was Sayyidina Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala. And today it's lost. Today we have no haya. Allama Khalid Mahmoud was asked, what do you call haya in the West? He says, there is no translation because we have no haya. There is no translation because we have no haya today, unfortunately. Sayyidina Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala, this very quickly. Speak about Hudaybiyah. In Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba were going in the 6th year of Hijrah. They were going from, remember they've been thrown out of Makkah. You have to understand the mentality of the Sahaba. Imagine you've been living here your whole life. Born here, went to school here, work here, then one day they take your bags, they lock you out your house saying, I'm going to take your house, off you go, you have nothing. And they threw them out. The Sahaba, finally now they're in Medina. They've left everything in Makkah. Some have left their families, they've left their properties, everything in Makkah. And they've been in Medina for 6 years, and finally Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam sees a dream that we are doing tawaf of the Kaaba. The Sahaba are elated. Yes, we get to go back home. We get to go back to Makkah. Oh, definitely Sahaba are really happy, excited. They get ready. They march on Makkah. To do Umrah, not to fight, to do Umrah. They go to do Umrah. The kuffar from Makkah, the Quraysh find out, and they stop the Sahaba outside of Makkah saying, you can't come for Umrah. No, you will not come. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba are in a position, the Sahaba are very excited. It's very difficult to say no to them now because they've been looking forward to this since they saw the dream. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Uthman, come here. Uthman, go into Makkah and try to speak. You go as a delegate, speak to the people in Makkah. Try to make them understand. We will leave our swords, we don't come here to fight. We just want to come for Umrah. Let us do Umrah and then we leave straight after. Sayyidina Uthman goes in. A rumor starts spreading in Makkah that the Quraysh have killed Uthman. Now, we know it's an unwritten law that when you have a delegate of another country come to your space, it's a safe space. He is safe. So when you kill a delegate, it's as if you have waged war on the entire country. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he hears this rumor and he says, Sahaba, if this is true, come and take bay'ah under my hands, that we will fight till death to avenge Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala. The Sahaba, one by one, 1,400 of them come and take bay'ah to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying, yes, we will protect, or we will avenge the death of Uthman. Sayyidina Uthman wasn't there. Then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam put one hand over the other and said, I am giving bay'ah for Uthman. This is for Uthman. And then they find out he is alive, he comes out and everything is safe, and they do Umrah the following year. Finally, we just fast forward to the death of Sayyidina Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala and the assassination of Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala. And he was a very soft man, and because he was soft, people would ask him something and he would say, yes, okay. Yes, okay. So people would ask him for high positions, he would say, yes, okay. He would trust them. Because when you're a good person with a good heart, you don't think bad of other people. And when they come to you and they say, I can promise you I'll do a good job, you trust them and you say, okay, fine. Sayyidina Uthman gave a position to some people. A rumor spread that Sayyidina Uthman had ordered the killing, na'udhu billah, of the son of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Muhammad bin Abi Bakr. A rumor spread. Because they found a letter, but the letter wasn't written by Uthman, it was written by Marwan. And the people of Medina knew it. So they came to Uthman radiallahu ta'ala's house, and Marwan is inside. And they say, Uthman, give us Marwan. Marwan has ordered the killing of Muhammad bin Abi Bakr. Muhammad the son of Abu Bakr, give us Marwan. Sayyidina Uthman didn't know any details. If you don't know any details, you can't just hand over somebody. Sayyidina Uthman said, no, I don't know details, I won't hand him over, I'll keep him in here. He didn't know. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala, he sensed that the people wanted the blood of Uthman, the Khalifa of the time. So he sent his two sons, Hassan and Hussein, the grandchildren of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, go and protect the house of Uthman. Zubayr bin Awam sends his son, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Zubayr radiallahu anhu, go and protect Sayyidina Uthman. These people, these evil people, they jump over the wall of Sayyidina Uthman's house, they come into his house. His wife is there, they attack his wife, and her hand is cut. Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu is there, and he is insisting that no blood will be shed because of me. No Muslim's blood will be shed. Ali said, these people are coming after you, let us deal with them. He says, no. No Muslim's blood will be shed because of me. If they let them do whatever they want. And when he was inside his house, he saw a dream. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, have they deprived you of water? He said, yes, they deprived me of water. He was the one who built the masjid, but they didn't let him inside the masjid. Have they deprived you from praying salah in my masjid? Yes, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you are fasting today. You will do iftar with us today. So Uthman knew his time was up. You will do iftar with us today. He knew his time was up. Sayyidina Uthman was attacked, number one, by Muhammad bin Abi Bakr, the son of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. He comes and takes hold of Sayyidina Uthman's beard. Sayyidina Uthman says, your father used to honor this beard. If your father saw you like this today, he would be very unhappy with you. And the son of Abu Bakr puts his hand down and he runs away. He says, no. He does tawbah and he runs away. But some other evil men came inside the house. Sayyidina Uthman, guess what he was doing? He was reciting Qur'an. He was reciting Qur'an, and the ayat he was reciting, فَسَيَكْفِيكَهُمُ اللَّهُ, Allah will suffice you against them. He's reciting this ayah, the blood, he's attacked, he's killed, the blood drops onto this ayah, and he passes away. And this was the life and the death of Sayyidina Uthman. You know, there's a saying, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, last 30 seconds, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you will die as you live, and you will be resurrected as you died. Sayyidina Uthman's entire life was devoted to the Qur'an, and he died reciting the Qur'an. There's a massive lesson in it for us. The Qur'an will come for a proof for some people and a proof against other people. If you recite the Qur'an will be a proof for us, not against us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all love for the Sahaba, love and attachment with the Qur'an, and help us understand the Qur'an and recite the Qur'an. Ameen wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.